Since morning, we have been talking about what do consumers need in India, how challenging is the environment. The economy is about to grow, but the telecom situation is very challenging, and there are regulatory headwinds. Despite all this, there is a person who is setting up a company, and he's an entrepreneur. And the other investors are putting money behind him. So before I go into the details, we have the privilege of having Prakash Bajpai with us, CEO of Tikona. Prakash has a cherished history in the telecom space. He's been with AT&T Bell Labs. He was employee number 2 of Tata Telecom in India. He moved on to be the CEO of HughesTele.com, and I bought a lot of shares of HughesTele.com at that time. He sold that company, so he took the company IPO, sold that company to Tata's, moved on to be the Reliance exec team, and then came out and set up Tikona. So what we want to hear, Prakash, from you is that what is driving you? What is in you? What are you seeing in this market? And tell us what your vision is. Let's welcome Prakash Bajpai.
Good evening to you all. So it seems like kind of a tiring day, long workshop, a lot of speeches, a lot of reviews. And usually at the end of the evening, you have an entertainment session. So I don't know whether I'm really... But honestly, I'll just freewheel. I'll talk to you. I haven't really prepared anything special. So we'll just flow along with the thoughts as they come to me. Dhananjay had sent me a note that, there is this serious topic of what accelerate leadership. And I'm thinking, what does that mean, right? And what's the connection with me, right? And then I started to think about this, these two phrases, and started reflecting upon as to how the journey began. So I've been myself a student of trying to learn what leadership is all about all along. So I will use some of the anecdotal examples of this journey that I've been through, which has been through all its usual ups and downs. And hopefully I'll try to draw upon as to what occurred to me at different points in time, right? So it's a small little journey, and we'll talk, share thoughts as the journey moves along. So I remember, I was all of 23 years of age, and I was working in that great company called Philips. That was after I had a stint with IBM. So this was my mainstay company in the initial years. I spent 9 years in Philips. And at 23 years of age, I used to be in Delhi here. And there was this Asian Games 1982, one of the biggest, or the biggest event that India has held at that point in time. And Philips had won a large contract for all these new stadiums that were coming up. That was the first time Delhi started changing the face. Delhi wasn't looking like this before. And that was the first very large initiative by the government. And all these new stadiums were getting constructed, new hotels were coming up, and there was enormous amount of activity going on. And people are like wondering, oh, is this construction going to complete on time? And 90% of the people will bet it will never be complete on time, right? That's how that's how we Indians are, usually very strong cynics of things that are happening. So at that time, I was made in charge. I was made the project manager at that age, to manage all of the Philips deliverables. And what deliverables? We had to do lighting for all the stadiums. We had to do audio communication for all the stadiums, the public address system, the simultaneous interpretation system. There was no telephone exchange at that time, electronic exchange. So it would be intercom system for managing these sports events, CCTV camera system, surveillance, security system. Philips used to have a lot of offers. And all of these systems are all going to be in the public eyes. So, you always are aware that if anything fails, there are going to be a lot of press about it. So in that kind of a project, I'm inducted in to manage this project. And of course, there are a lot of resources at work, and I'm busy trying to, deliver the various milestones. And suddenly, 6 months ahead of the event, it was to inaugurate sometime around, I think, 19 November of 1982, if I remember the dates, right? And 6 months ahead, Government of India announced that we will start the color TV transmission in India. And these games will be colored, will be covered in color TV, right? So that's this announcement came. And then a month later, we learned that Philips has been asked to bring the color TV transmission to India. And there are only 5 months left, actually. There are no color transmission equipment in India. There is no color TV studio. There is no color processing. All of that has to be set up right from the day one. And these sports event would require outside broadcasting van, right? So you need to set up the studio inside a vehicle, which can go and move. And so again, I don't know, for whatever funny reason, they said since Prakash is there in Delhi and he's managing all the stadia affairs, so let him handle this project as well. So I get busy with that project as well, and there is a Pi TVT, which is the broadcast company of Philips, making this color TV transmission equipment. I take the team of Doordarshan engineers, because Doordarshan was the only entity which is allowed to do broadcasting at that time. And I'm leading that contingent, taking them through the training of how to use the equipment, because not only bringing the equipment and setting it up, but to using it, because there are new processes, new practices that you use in doing a color TV production. So days were getting very longer, every day, and we are slipping behind badly on the milestones. So one of these days, I remember I was there in the stadium, in Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, 3 o'clock in the midnight. I was working, and some UPS delivery had come, and I was trying to organize laborers to push it in the room before morning happens. Okay. So there was this officer called Mr. Gill. He was the special officer on duty. And he's taking a round at 3:30, and he just comes into my cabin, and he says, "Who is Prakash?" I said, "I'm a boy, 23 years of age." I said, "I'm Prakash." "Oh, so you are in charge of this project?" I said, "No, there are a lot of people working with me." I'm trying to shy away from that. I'm not the point man. And he says, "Prakash, the nation is watching it. Nation is watching it. And we are counting on you guys. We are counting on you guys." He said that sentence and he went. And that night was a transformative night for me. It just something happened inside. So next day I wrote a long memo to my director, the Philips big boss here in India, Mr. Ramamurtham, and I wrote to him the story that, this is what happened. 3 o'clock in the midnight, this guy came and he said, "Nation is watching it, so, how am I going to get all the support?" So he didn't respond back to my mail. I was too small a guy at that time. But in 2 days, I learned that, my mail is circulating all over Eindhoven. Eindhoven used to be the headquarters of Philips in Netherlands. All over Netherlands, my mail, that small little mail that I wrote is circulating all over. And then there are messages starting to come, from almost every functional department that I had to deal with. They had done the full mapping as to what all this project connects up with, and there are support and commitment that you will be always on the high priority for this particular project. We are going to make it happen. We are going to make it happen. And of course, the rest was history. Of course, we went on and we really slogged it out, and there was it was a frenzy of action. Very enjoyable piece of journey that I went through very early in my life. But then I started to think about in the post analysis, because when all these activities end up, in a good note, and then all the emotion let loose, I remember closing ceremony, my director, the moment closing ceremony closed, because it was live on the color TV, and I get a phone call in my studio where my director says, "We are proud of you." And I had tears in my eyes, rolling at that day, right? So the learning that I booked was that what that Mr. Gill came and did on that night was that he made the cause worthwhile. He made us all feel that what is it that we are working for. And I think that vision is very important. So when we talk to, these are all, phrases that we use in our day-to-day discussions, vision. A vision has to be charming enough to enchant you. If it doesn't occupy your imagination, that vision will not be able to drive. So this was the first learning that I had, that this vision has to be something worthwhile, which people can connect up with. And ultimately, vision has to deliver success at the end of it, success of some kind or the other. And that success has to be very meaningful for most of the people, right? Because success has different meaning for every single person. If I ask Mr. XYZ, what is your definition of success? Oh, I want to make few $1 billion or few $1 million, or I want to be very healthy and I want to quit smoking, or whatever. People will have different objectives, right? So this vision architecture, the vision is not just one person's vision. Vision kind of evolves into a vision architecture, which is able to engross the imagination of the full team, of the full, cutting across the functional silos, right? It's able to bind the entire team towards a causality, actually. So vision to be converted into a shared vision, how does it happen? And then again reflected back on that small little incident of Mr. Gill, right? So what happened, what my director did was, he used communication as a tool to convert it into a shared vision. So the leaders would be required to not only envision something, envision a goal, envision an ultimate destination, but then he has to be very passionate about communicating that. He has to be very much engaged into touching all the people and speaking that in a very enthusiastic way, in a manner that other people can relate to, that this is also my vision. Because otherwise, his vision is like, I want to be healthy, I want to make few $1 billion. That doesn't connect up with the vision that you are trying to sell. So shared vision transforming into shared vision is the lesson that I learned around those days in my journey, right? Now, when you say leadership, now leader, is a very dangerous act, actually. Leadership is about a lot of dangerous things. Because if you are going to give a vision which has to connect up and excite a lot of people, it has to be something audacious. If it is an ordinary thing, it will not excite you. Now, so you are standing up on the pedestal and saying, hey, you know what, we are going to do this, which sounds like very, very enterprise value getting created here, global brands getting created here, Ericsson being in the mainstream, trying to help Bharti become a global brand, helping other people. Really, it was a fantastic journey. I think the whole country benefited, government benefited, masses benefited, and today we have solved the voice problem in the country. Fantastic journey. But then, all good things come to an end, as they say. So voice problem has been solved. There is a hyper competition, commoditization of the market, but wasn't this coming? Wasn't this visible to us? Yes, it was visible to all of us. Is it not visible to everybody today? But is the industry acknowledging that? I don't know. So in these kind of times, there are still, when you start to look at, so one wave of opportunity is followed by another wave of opportunity. That's the global phenomena since the time immemorial. And the next wave is even bigger than the first one. We have seen it happen so many times. And the people who fall within the chasm of these two waves are falling, are the great companies which always, they fall down, they fall down. The people who can cross from one wave to another wave become, great companies. Right? So there is this opportunity in 2008. I was in the peak of my career in Reliance. Of course, I had built home business, I built enterprise business, I built data center business, I built several businesses there. The last project I took on my hand was launch of DTH, and that was also launched. And that's the time I'm saying, hey, this story, very, very fantastic journey, but it's kind of, losing its steam. And the data is going to be the next big story, because in India, because of the circumstances of no investment happening in the last mile, we are a broadband disabled nation, as I call it, right? So only, 10 million broadband connections are there for a country as large as this, right? So Indian homes are not connected, our businesses are not connected, and they're all suffering. They're not able to get the benefit of the internet connectivity, data connectivity, and there is just huge opportunity there. So again, glass half, glass full. What is full, what is empty, right? So one wave is over, but next wave is building up. But when you start to analyze, that's the learning from each of the journey elements, actually. The journey elements, which are so phenomenal, taught us one very profound thing. In the same market, same India, same masses, in 2002, whole industry was adding only 150,000 mobile phones, and we used to consume a minute at 16 rupees. Remember those days? And industry was not happening. There was nothing happening here. Industry was almost in a similar situation as you find it today. There is a lot of gloom in the market, a lot of balance sheets are loaded, we have paid some hefty fees. That time also same environment. 16 rupees a minute. Everybody is trying to tell other, don't you cut the price, because it will kill us. And the masses are refusing to interact with the marketplace. They needed voice. So Indians did not need voice telephony 10 years ago and they need it today. Is that so? They always needed telephones. Right? But then somebody had to take the audacity to say, no, this is a wrong model. So we need to, and people started talking about creating a cheap minutes factory, the Bharti model, the Reliance came, the prices dropped, and from 16 rupees to 40 paisa, 30 paisa, and market has happened. Did anybody lose in this game? Nobody lost the game. Everybody came out winner. Same way, we have that teeny mini spectrum called 3G, 5 megahertz. Right? We're talking about enormous data capacity requirement. Indians want to consume. Demographics is in our favor. There is 350 million new consuming class that we're going to add in next 3 to 5 years time. There are 150 million internet users in India, which is the third largest in the world already. 150 million internet users. How they use it is a different story. Right? Connections are only 12 million or 13 million or whatever, right? So they're all using shared, so they're using not high-speed connectivity, but there are 150 million internet users. And everybody will tell you that this 150 is becoming 500 million by 2016. Half a billion internet user market this is. And what do we have to offer? There is no data capacity in the country. But again, apply the principle, the learning from the journey. 16 rupees a minute has to become 40 paisa a minute to make the market happen. So this is the backdrop in which we founded Tikona, right? I mean, usually these kind of statement that we will create a completely unprecedented cost structure are statements which belong to very mighty people. They are very big, powerful, with a lot of capital backup behind. Those people, they look all right when they make such statement that I'm going to make a cheap data factory, right? If Bharti says that, you'll all believe it. So somewhere this Kida was there and I said, look, what we know is what is required, and we had some ideas how to do it. Some ideas, some funny idea, funky ideas you can call them, that how to go about producing this cheap data factory. Because we knew there is going to be, India requires cheap data. How cheap? And that's where the audacity element is involved. So I was saying leadership is a very dangerous act. So when I crafted the story of Tikona in 2008, I said we will want to produce data cheapest in the whole world. I want to produce a data factory which can produce data cheapest in the whole world. Because that's what my market wants. That's what made the last decade's fun phenomena happen here. Right? So that was the driving eccentricity, bordering on eccentricity that we said, now how are you going to do it? Because then you start to examine the components of what is the cost structure. What creates cost? Oh, obviously, no wireline. Wireline will create a $800 capex per home. Indians are not going to use that. $800 capex per home and $10 ARPU and $2 EBITDA. I mean, it's like no brainer. It's never, so nobody's going to make investment into wireline construction anymore. That's quite clear. Right? So will India remain broadband disabled for all time to come? Our homes will never get internet connectivity. Our children are not going to go to school and not take the benefit of internet connectivity. Internet, which is mother of all entertainment, content, education, research, application, what have you, right? It's a whole world in it. How can you think about India as a nation which doesn't have internet connectivity, broadband connectivity? So it's a very desperate situation. It's a desperate situation we are in, right? So you need to do desperate things, demand desperate actions, right? So here we are saying that Tikona wants to do a vision of creating a cheap data factory. Cheap doesn't mean low quality. Cheap data factory, but will produce wireline quality. So first thing was we figured out that you need to produce a connectivity cost which is somewhere in the range of $100 to $120 because Indians are not going to pay more than $10 ARPU. So you have to make it happen at $8 to $10 ARPU, and you have to make this business happen. If you don't have a business case, and I'm talking to financial investor, I'm not talking to some mad strategic guy, right, who will say, oh, I want to go and conquer India, right? There's no Alexander here. Financial guys are, they want to see, the business case, investment thesis, right? So at $10, at $8 ARPU, how are you going to make a viable business? $8 ARPU as a continuous monthly revenue stream. So $100 capex, and the cost of production of the data, because home consumes, and we all know, and this is where I think the next realization was that, and this is still, I'm talking first time about this topic, right? And I'm just, I'm overcoming a lot of inhibitions inside me to speak about this very simple theory that we have. So we believe while, data, there are enormous traffic statistics. I'm sure you all are flooded with all the statistics that how many exabytes of traffic and how many exabytes it will become, and internet has become all video, and it's going to be, it's an explosion which is happening, right? That we all know. But there is a data which gets consumed indoor, and there is data that consumed outdoor. 85% of the data gets consumed indoors. So indoor earlier were denominated as a fixed broadband kind of a thing. And generally all mobile companies kind of fixed, like something sidey, not important. But hey, 80% of data is going to be consumed. Now it has got nothing to do with the fixed or mobile, because all the smartphones, when you reach home, they become part of the home broadband connectivity. So traffic will originate from the smart devices, from the mobile devices, but they are all going to be going via the home connectivity that you have. Because you won't be able to afford the mobile data cost structure. So you need to produce the data inside this. So we said we will work on the indoor data, because which is where the 80% of the consumption is. So what's indoor? Home, office, and sometimes public footfall areas where you go and spend, a few hours at a stretch. You go to a mall, right? You're there for 2-3 hours with your family. Your children are doing different things. Wife is doing shopping, and you are kind of getting bored and fidgeting around with your smartphone, right? Or in a hospital, waiting in the OPD section, waiting for the doctor's appointment. So public footfall area, sitting in the airport lounge. So these are the three things which is indoor data, and we figured 85% of data is going to be consumed indoors. So if you can figure out a way of creating indoor data factory, so I'm not talking about mobile data factory anymore, I'm talking about indoor data factory meant for mobile as well as for small screen, large screen, internet TV, all of them. So that's the focus we had, and we said, and nobody is talking about even that now today also. When you hear about all the mobile data products, whether it is dongle or it is mobility or it is 3G, none of them is addressing the indoor data space. And when I say indoor data space, is not only in terms of the RF penetration, but also in terms of the propensity to pay. So all of the homes want to consume on their devices large amount of multimedia files, video files. They want to do YouTube. They want to watch their popular soap operas on the smart devices. And in fact, children these days, they don't want to see the TV at all. I mean, in my home, my two kids, they have removed TV from their room. So they watch whatever they want to watch through internet. And if so much of video is going to be watched, 5 hours of video is going to be watched on your internet device, the kind of consumption you're talking about is becoming a 100 gigabyte per month home, 100 gigabyte to 200 gigabyte per month home. So one thing, you require a lot of capacity to be created, large capacity to be created, and mind you, without a wireline. You don't have a fiber connection coming in there to create that kind of capacity. So how do you create this kind of capacity on wireless? And how do you produce it so cheap? So if he's going to consume 100 gigabyte of data and he's going to pay you $10 of ARPU, what is the cost structure you're talking about? Think about that. So this is getting, by every concept of imagination, more and more audacious. It's becoming so audacious it looks ridiculous. They're talking about producing in 0.02 or 20 rupees per gigabyte. right? That is 0.2 paisa. Is there a notion of 0.2 paisa? Anybody heard of that per megabyte? Which is 1/50th the cost structure of where the industry is today. Industry is selling minutes around 30 paisa per megabyte today, 3G. So you're talking about 1/30th, 1/50th cost structure to be produced. Now that is preemptive thinking. That is dangerous thinking. Right? But that is what India wants. I mean, you like it or not. India market will happen when you 500 million, whatever numbers you're talking about, that will happen only when this kind of cost structure is there. It is quite obvious to me that Indian home are not going to pay you on an average more than $10 ARPU. Anybody has different opinion about that? I mean, we all represent Indian diaspora here. It started to go up. Okay, so different, I'm talking about average. When you buy the time, see, when you talk about mass phenomena, right, voice is the mass phenomena, and you are all, infrastructure makers. And you love mass phenomena to happen. If there is no mass phenomena, and you're only in the apex of the triangle of the market, then I'm sure your business leader is not going to be very happy with you, right? So then you started to examine the components of this cost structure. Spectrum. We said, okay, we can't afford licensed spectrum, let's work on the unlicensed spectrum. Right? They're talking about 5 megahertz, I will use 50 megahertz of 5.8 gigahertz, 60 megahertz of 2.4, 110 megahertz. We will use 4G technology, OFDM component, beams, the beam steering technology, the smart antenna technology to overcome interference, all of that, So these are all artifacts of execution. So we had, when I said that we had this fuddy-duddy idea of doing some kind of funky architecture, but that funky architecture was an effort to try and see what the masses are going to be wanting to have. So with this idea, we set up the shop, right? And I started talking to some people who can listen to this crazy idea that we will use unlicensed band. And guess what? We are going to deliver a wireline quality. So our goal was at that point in time that we want to deliver a wireline quality with the same capacity and same cost structure, but with capex which is 1/8 of the wireline cost structure, right? And we designed that architecture, we started executing that, and obviously, when you start executing, then you realize that, all the laws of physics that you understood are not adequate sometimes, right? There are more things, as they say, RF is an art sometimes. But we learned through, we continued our journey. And during this journey, we're talking about the how to convert the vision into a connected vision architecture, right? Where all the people, because you will require different skill sets for that. You require technologists, you require RF people, you require IT people, you require backend people, an organization, customer service organization. And customer service organization, in our realization, was once again a very, very different paradigm. Because to my mind, in India is yet to see a service centricity that a data services business requires, right? So one of the component of our capability architecture was that internet is not like a mobile service where you take a mobile phone, right, and rest of it you know how to dial a number, how to do an SMS. How many of you would have contacted call center ever for any help, for any technical help? Never. Correct? You would have called them for maybe a bill dispute sometime, that how did you charge me something which I didn't buy, right? Those kind of things could be there, but not really for any assistance of handling how to use a mobile phone. But how many of you guys in your office have not asked for a IT services guys help? Right? We all need it. If somebody asks us, go and configure your Wi-Fi router properly and with encryption and security, right? Middle of the night, internet stopped working and the password is not operating, this and that. And you are helpless. You really can't fix it on your own. So you require a lot of hand-holding support for data services. If you are an enterprise business, you are running a business, you are doing a CRM, you are doing a SAP application, or the sales point of sale application, then you are even more critically dependent on the data and internet connectivity, and you require a lot of technical hand-holding. And this technical hand-holding is coming somehow always in the middle of the night. It's a funny thing that we are discovering from our call center, our technical support. Right? The middle of the night, the guy is the most irate guy. Okay, he's doing very interesting things at that time. Right? So when you start to deal with that, then again you start to focus on your backend BSS, OSS, and believe me, I built actually 4 or 5 very large, very complex backend systems, right? In Reliance, I built it for mobile business first, then I built it for data business, then I built it for enterprise business, then I built it for prepaid PCO business, then I built it for DTH, and every time it was a completely different implementation. Completely different implementation. I mean, we were using all kinds of exotic BSS application. We had Amdocs and all that. So, but every time it would require a completely different way of handling integration and then mounting the business processes on top of that. Right? And I knew, this is another one, which will require, so this BSS OSS architecture to handle data services, internet services for home, for SMBs, and for mobile broadband is going to be a completely different architecture. And to build that, to learn that, again, there was a pool of people that you needed who will be able to create the integration of this application in such a manner that you are able to serve the customer. Because when the customer is complaining to you, you don't know whether there is a technical fault with your radio network or with your fiber node or maybe his bill has run out, maybe he's exceeded the usage limit. Now, these information systems are lying in different components of your backend. Something is lying in the LDAP, something is lying in the BRAS, something is lying in the billing system, something is lying in the CRM, the credit history, all of that. Now, all of this information, if your call center agent has to, get it out for handling because customer is on phone with you, right? To create so we wanted to create one single screen in which all of this information from BSS layer, OSS layer, service administration layer, and the network layer, including the circuit pathing of that, right down from his Mac. So we could see the circuit from his Mac to the CPE device, to the access point, to the backhaul, to the fiber node. So you can see the complete circuit. You can see the performance. You can see the billing status, the payment status, the quality of service applied to him. Then your agent is looking so much more powerful. Then he's able to assist you. Now, whether such architectures exist, I would challenge, no, they don't exist. In India, they don't exist. And I'm not suggesting that they cannot be built, but it will be a journey for people to build that. Right? So I'm on the third element of execution, which is the organizing your capability components or an execution plan. It's an execution strategy, you may call it, followed by a plan in realization. And now, when you start this journey, now get ready to fall. Right? One thing I can guarantee you, if you are following an audacious vision, and no matter how smart an execution plan, how detailed an execution plan you have built, I guarantee you, you're going to fall. Not once, many times. Things will not work as you planned. So if you think that Excel, you make a model, and it will be delivered to the investor just like that, don't start a venture, please. Right? So one of the big mistakes we made. So we, did this pilot project, and we started the journey with building a pilot in Mumbai, and we, of course, put our architecture, the funky architecture, which is, by the way, nowadays called as small cell architecture. Right? I found a name for it now. So we started this small cell architecture when we began the company, and we are the only small cell architecture company in India right now, using the unlicensed band. And we integrated this network in township of Mumbai, in Mulund and Bhandup, in 2 neighborhoods. And seemed to work all right, seemed to deliver the speed, seemed to deliver the capacity, and we were kind of feeling quite enthusiastic by the initial result. And then the financial investors sitting on top, and you are mindful of them always, because financial investors meaning returns. When are you getting me my money back? When are you getting my money back, right? And I'm here, thumping the whole organization. Let's go execute. Let's spread it out. Let's spread it. So we built 25 cities. We entered and built 38 cities. So in 1.5 year time, we were like 40,000 base stations installed. Right? It became the largest outdoor Wi-Fi network that exists not in India, but in the entire world. Even remains largest outdoor Wi-Fi network in the whole world today, right? With a very large capacity of nearly 2 million broadband customers, each of them capable of consuming at the rate of 4 Mbps speed, almost 30 to 40 gigabyte a month. That's the network capacity we have built actually right now. But then, the network started showing tantrums, it would not behave properly, it will be interference, it will not be consistent, the pops will fall, and O&M issues, battery will get stolen. Thieves, cable operator will come and cut your, infrastructure on the rooftop. Now, this is all part of the problem. Who said you build a small cell architecture? You build a small cell architecture, face it now. Right? Because now it's a scattered ecosystem, and you need to learn about how to manage this kind of a scattered ecosystem. People are having a hard time managing X number of towers in a city. Now imagine in Bombay, I have 9,000 base stations. So, from 2,000 to 9,000 is a different order of magnitude of O&M problem. But you have to learn it all. Right? You need to build, so how do you make the battery safe? Because battery is a sellable item. Right? So you cover for 8-hour battery backup, and then you find that it is getting stolen 3 times in a month in some of the sites, and the customers are getting very irate. So these kind of problems and several other problems. So one of the things that I learned, that I am able to excite the customer, able to get the acquisition. People are fed up with the other service, they come and sign up with me, and as they sign up, after some time they also leave me. So my churn rate had gone up to about 12%, which is no different from the mobile industry, by the way, right? But 12%, but mobile industry doesn't incur that kind of acquisition cost. I had to go and send a technician to install, so my cost structure on the O&M side is higher. I couldn't afford. My business model was completely collapsing, right? I would add customer and they'll go. Maybe, if not all of them, 3/4 of them will go. So model was completely getting crumbled. And then we discovered lots of things, lots and lots of learning. There are almost 100 reforms that we would have introduced in every different area. In the sales area, how you sell, we created a model of install and then take the money. We learned how to handle cash. Now these are things which are yet to be learned in the industry. See, broadband doesn't get sold from the prepaid counter, right? You need to have a people who will go to the home, and then these days, these guys say, oh, cable thing doesn't work, he promised me this, I don't get the speed. Can you demonstrate? So we embrace that model. So we say, we first install, demonstrate to you the service, then only you pay me the money. And until I was doing that, I was having huge amount of, the bad mouthing of company going on the, the various kind of blogging sites. Or these are thugs, these are thieves, they take money, they don't deliver, all that blah, blah, blah goes on. So these were tough moments for us. I'm talking about year 2011 and early part of 2012. And we got focused into fixing all of this. So they were not technology challenges now. So what I'm saying is that in this journey, your challenges and objectives will keep on changing. So initial period, I had the construction risk. How do you acquire these many sites? How do you roll out? So we had one of the very powerful companies those days called Nortel. They were actually, I gave the award to them to execute this. They were my program managers to build the network. They quit in third month. They said, we can't do it. Right? So we had to start doing it ourselves. So initial first year challenges was network rollout, network build out. Right? The next thing came technology challenges. The several algorithms we had to modify to make it work, and to make it very stable. And today it's like very, very solid network. Right? Then came down these operational processes. How to collect cash, how to make sure that the accounts are squared away, how the process of onboarding of the customer. So all of these things, there had lots and lots of learning. But all of these learnings are permeated through the organization in a very, very transparent fashion. We never lied to ourselves. So I remember one of the board meeting, people were very critical of us. I mean, when you have a board like that, which is very, very good board, you have very high governance standards. These guys are going to come and look at your number. Okay, so you said your business model said that you will have churn below X number, X percentage. Now today you are twice the. What are you going to do about it actually? And we are not seeing any improvement happening. And we are reading all kinds of nasty blogs about the company. Your brand image is getting soiled. All of that, right? So how are you going to take care of that? So I said, look, I can't control what people write on the sites. How can I control that? So there this idea came that, we will become so transparent to our customers that we will say, hey, whatever you want to tell me on my own site. On my own Tikona website, you are please invited to come and abuse me, tell me whatever filth you want to tell me, no problem. Right? So we created a Tikona forum, and on the Tikona forum, our customer could reach it from any time he's surfing the internet, even at the time of login. Right? So you became transparent in those times, which were most difficult times for us. Right? We said, come on, tell us what's your problem. Whatever you want to tell me, you are okay. And we are going to read. My commitment to you is that every blog will be read, action taken, and answer posted same day. Right? And we implemented that in the middle of all the customer dissatisfaction that was running through. And we saw a dramatic result, dramatic improvement. Then people started posting positive blogs. It's very hard for Indians to say anything good. Right? Anything is bad, he's going to tell 10,000 people, oh, this one, shit, But to get something good out of you, I appreciate, you really solved my problem. And we started getting positive blogs. My call center got encouraged, and they said, okay, sir, if you are feeling happy with the resolution, can you please go and take the trouble to go and make a small little post. Started writing with the name. I am happy with such and such person. And that fellow is feeling great about it, actually. We are clapping for him in the call center. This is all creating a culture in the organization. So this is where I think the fifth element of the execution is building a culture and common bond. Right? Common bond is extremely critical. I think you all understand that because you build great companies like Ericsson. I'm sure it is founded on very, very sound common bond principle. We created our own. Right? I mean, one of the uppermost common bond value for us in Tikona, for Tikonites, is the candor. And candor really means be brutally honest. So you'll see dogfights happening inside my cabin. People will come and tell me, Mr. Bajpai, you don't know what nonsense you're talking about. Right? They're free to do that. They will come and will criticize the ideas, but not people. We criticize the ideas only in the hope that that the right idea prevails at the end of it. And there is just so much fun in doing this kind of fight. This kind of fights are really very enjoyable, and it gets very ugly with Hiram and Tarun, and there are two of them here. Both the CEOs are here of home business, Sridhar and Yugal. So this candor is very, very important common bond value that Tikona runs on, where people are free to go and talk very honestly as to what they feel is going right, what is wrong, and how to fix it or how things are not happening correctly. Common bond, the respect for individual. I mean, many of these things are very commonsensical. High corporate governance, high amount of disclosure. These are some of the other common bond values that we practice. But these common bond values have enormous strength. They have huge power. I mean, we normally don't notice that, but these common bond values hold your vision together. It holds you focused. There will be bad times. There will be times when things will not be happening correctly. It is the common bond value which is going to really give you the inspiration, the strength to communicate with each other, to learn from each other, to analyze the things correctly, and fix whatever needs to be fixed. All of this journey, communication remains one vital thread. Right? How you communicate, how people see the leaders communicate amongst themselves. Right? So somehow right from the beginning, actually, we have a system where all the top leaders of Tikona, they gather in the lunchtime in my cabin, and we all every day have a potluck. Of course, we are very spoiled for eating 4 different varieties of vegetables. You can envy about that, but we are happy. Right? So every day we have a potluck lunch, and that's like 2 hours of session we sort of spend every day with each other. And the sense that I have is that there is hardly anything that I would know which is not known to a whole bunch of people in my company. And there is hardly anything that they would know, not in terms of knowledge, but in terms of the information that I would not know. So we are that connected. These are very simple examples which I have learned in my journey, which help you to sort of navigate through all kinds of times when you are making success, times when you are not so successful. But these are things which keep these small things which have worked for us, right? don't leave the audacity. We continue to think more and more audacious. So we created the first goal of the audaciousness that we said we actually met with those cost structure 1 year back. Now we are kind of ready to scale, right? Now we are saying that in the indoor data factory, right, including public Wi-Fi, so home, enterprise and public Wi-Fi, we want to dominate that market consumption. I didn't say revenue. I want to dominate the market consumption. Revenue will follow, we know that. And the way we will dominate is by giving us the best, better than wireline quality everywhere, and by giving abundant capacity at dirt cheap price, because we will continue to beat down our cost structure dramatically. And the business case that I have made, the business case even now on the LTE plus Wi-Fi model that we have built, it is so unbelievable that people will be stunned to look at it. Now, there is that element of audacity still there. We continue to challenge ourselves that if we can do this thing with the unlicensed spectrum, heck, what we can do with the licensed plus unlicensed spectrum. That's what keeps our eyes still lit up, and they get brighter, they get wider, right? And we are pretty charged as a company to try and go through that journey. We know it's not going to be easy. There are going to be a lot of challenges, but we are prepared. We are prepared, and we'll continue to make progress. So that's sort of the small little narration of some of the emotion that are running through my mind, and I beg your pardon if I kind of offended anybody with any of those small narrations. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hi, sir. Thanks for sharing very valuable experience and insights. They're really useful for us, all of us. I have a couple of questions. One is, with the new UL guidelines coming up, we have read in the newspaper that 21 crores is the pan-India UL license fee, and Spectrum is delinked from that. Do you foresee, or an innovative businessman like you, or a leader like you, would you be investing in wireline networks? Would there be any entrepreneurs coming up in the wireline domain setting up triple play networks through fiber? This is first question. Second question is, what are your views on the UL new upcoming licensing things, if you are aware? Thanks.
Is it on? The spectrum and the services delineation is absolutely a very sensible direction. There is no reason why we should waste a pretty spectrum with, that this is, you can only do this and you cannot do that with that. That's very wasteful. I mean, spectrum is such a precious resource. So that's absolutely a step in the right direction from the policy making point of view. Now, unified license, of course, is another step in simplifying the licensing regime, that you don't have to take 5 different licenses, you can have one license. So I think these are anyway no-brainers, according to me. They are steps in the right direction. Whether it is 21 crore or it is 2,100 crore is a different matter. I think that depends on what your business plan is, what you're trying to do. Now, the second question was about whether wireline entrepreneurs will come. Well, I think there is a very serious challenge here, very, very serious challenge here. Because of the right of ways and the way our civic administrations work, the right of ways being so expensive and the cost of construction being so high, I really don't know if there is a way of building a proper outside plant, proper as in a proper outside plant, right? Whether it's a cable plant, which can be a genuine two-way HFC cable plant, or a DSL plant even. If you're going to try and create a new DSL plant, it's going to cost you not less than $800 per home, right? And there's not much of technology to play with there, right? It's all civil, plumbing, digging, right of ways, so it's very difficult. $800, and I told you the basic problem being that Indians are not going to pay more than $10. So business case wise, it absolutely 0 sense. You will see some funky wireline architecture, funky as in overhead, hanging, right? And that's what is happening actually. So there are examples where people have done GPON or various types of architecture to reach fiber as deep as they can go, but through a cheap way. But the problem is that those fiber plants are very unreliable. Because, fiber cable, for I think many of you are all technology, so you know how delicate the whole thing is, right? This fiber cable is unprotected. It is stretched on the clamped in some particular manner. There is no respect regard for the bending radius, and somehow it reaches there just like a coaxial cable, and then from there you put a switch and you put a Cat5 cable. Now, those kind of architecture will remain, but they will not be lasting, enduring platforms on which you can build broadband business. Yes, there will be cable companies, and there are some good examples where people have done more of this work, but they may not be lasting architectures, and they will always run the risk. One fine day, some municipal corporation, when you become successful, they will wait until then. You start making money, it's a chop, right?
Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you, Mr. Yadav. Very insightful, inspiring kind of speech there. The question I have is, I've seen recently an article about you looking at voice play as well, right? With voice over IP kind of being relaxed a little bit. I want to know how far, what is your thoughts about it? Especially voice is going to be a stronger play for the next 5-10 years as well. That is one thing. And the second thing is any differentiated service for video intense users based on quality of a service, something like that, if you're trying to plan something there.
So these are my personal views, disclaimer. I think the voice is a very exciting business. But as I said, voice problem has been solved in India. It's been solved by and large. So just by doing a little bit more of the same, even the rural problem will get solved. I mean, urban centers are already seeing some 140% penetration, 160% penetration. So who is complaining about not being able to make a phone call? Is anybody saying it's expensive? No. So what is the problem we are trying to solve? I mean, the first thing entrepreneur has to think that, what's the problem we are trying to solve? There is no problem left here to solve. Now, whether it is going on a VoIP or a VoLT or it is going on a conventional 2G, 3G, it doesn't matter to the customer. He cares a damn. All he wants is a good quality voice. Right? Now, because of the devices that you're carrying a phablet in your hand and you're using Skype and all of that. So, because of that OTT way, some part of the voice will go, but let it go. So, it's a very natural evolution. I don't think there is a deliberate thing that you can do here. Deliberate intervention is not really required, right? OTT is there. Technologies are becoming enabled. When you will have the VoLT handset, not today, but it will take you 3-4 years before they become massified and they are available in the hands of the people. Then you can talk about VoLT, right? Until then, yes, there will be smartphones, but smartphones will have Wi-Fi. That's what we are betting on. Ticona is saying that our ubiquitous layer, so I am really not dependent on any device strategy. So we will do LTE deployment, but yet not depend on the LTE devices, because our strategy is to use the Wi-Fi interface layer for the masses. So the most ordinary, the cheapest, humble, 1,000 rupees phone which has Wi-Fi should be able to use my service. That's what the massification is about. So we in the Ticona school of thought is going towards the massification, cost structure, bringing the cost below the knee of affordability so that the inflection point can be triggered off. Right? That's where our head is.
Can we have you on stage?
Thanks very much. It's really interesting.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks very much.